Well, a very good morning to you all, and thank you very much for joining us here on Views, People and News. That's VPN on 933 KFM. It's 8 minutes past 9 o'clock. My name is Judith Atim, and today is, of course, the 7th of December, 2024. And we are looking at, we are discussing recent political developments and what the road ahead looks like. Because you're well aware that 2024 is almost a wrap, and that means all eyes are on 2025, the year of campaigns. And in light of this, there are a lot of developments in the political arena. And that forms the basis for our conversation today. I'll be introducing to you my guests in a short while. However, for now, let's first take a quick look at some of the issues that actually made it big in the news this week. Starting off, of course, with Dr. Kizza Besigye. On Tuesday, politician and political activist, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye was arraigned again at the Machinji-based military court-martial, together with his colleague, Haj Obeid Lutale Kamlegea. Of course, the two are battling charges of allegations that they were in possession of 2 pistols and 8 rounds of ammunition. So the two have actually lined up a team of over 30 defense lawyers, including Kenya's former Justice Minister Martha Karua. The courtroom was packed, and there were lots of contentions from the prosecution and defense, and both sides later agreed to have the hearing of the cases adjourned, as well as ruling on the demands of the defense, of course, until Tuesday next week. In the meantime, Martha Karua continues to wait for her practicing certificate in Uganda. She applied for this on November 28th, but the Uganda Law Council has not yet given it to her. Again, we wait to see if by Tuesday this will have been actually finalized. We are aware that Besigye's lawyers are fighting tooth and nail to ensure that she actually gets her practicing license issued. And also, Bank of Uganda Deputy Governor, during the reading of the Monetary Policy Statement for December 2024, responded to questions concerning the recent claims of a hack into Bank of Uganda's payment systems. Dr. Michael Atingiego said that, quotes, we're quoting what he said, "It is not correct to say that the BOU IT systems were hacked, because hacking is the act of gaining unauthorized access to computer systems or networks, and to date, there is no evidence of unauthorized access to the BOU IT systems to divert funds." According to him, the fraud incidents were initiated outside the BOU IT systems, and instructions were received by Bank of Uganda to pay wrong beneficiaries, and this led to the subsequent diversion of funds. And also the Nyendo Mukungwe Member of Parliament, Honorable Matthias Mpuuga, who is also the immediate former leader of opposition, yesterday announced, made his big announcement, that was what was on the invitation letter, which is pretty much the formation of a new political not a party yet. It's a political formation known as the Democratic Alliance. The legislator, who is actually still a member of the NUP, held a gathering in what, of course, he termed it a big announcement, like I mentioned earlier. But this came following growing demands on what his political future looks like, especially after having these continuous squabbles with his political family, the NUP. There was also the issue of MP salaries, and the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Mong, as well as the Attorney General, Chirera Chiwanuka, this week instructed the Clerk to Parliament, Adolf Mwesigye, to withhold documents related to members of Parliament's salaries from the Ministry of Public Service and the Equal Opportunities Commission. This directive followed recent requests from both entities to the clerk for detailed salary information of individual MPs. Among has rejected the request. One of my guests has made it here, David Musiri, the head of institutions at the National Unity Platform. Good morning, David.
Good morning, and good morning, viewers and listeners.
Yeah, actually, yes, viewers, because we're also streaming on www.kfm.co.ug, so you can listen and also watch the conversation. David, good to have you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a pleasure always to be here at KFM. I want to say again, good morning, listeners and viewers. You know, gone are the days when you wouldn't say that viewers when you were on the radio.
Yes, times have changed.
Yeah, times have changed. Today we are live streaming right there. You can watch us on your
cell phone, on your laptop, on whatever gadget you have. Yeah. Thank you, David. So the advantage of being the early bird means you actually have more time to also contribute to the conversation. Yes. So I'm still talking about the highlights of the week, the major things that happened. So I've talked about the salaries of MPs. Of course, there was a request from the Equal Opportunities Commission and the Public Service Commission to Parliament to make public the salaries of MPs and Parliament staff, and the Speaker said no. Of course, she was flanked by the Attorney General on that. So I'm still just looking through the highlights, and then you'll just pick one or two issues and respond to. So, of course, there was the issue of the salaries, and also on the continent, on the African continent, voters in Ghana are casting their ballots today in a general election poised to be a litmus test for democracy in a region which is shaken by extremist violence and coups. Some 18.7 million people are registered to vote in presidential and legislative elections, but the two main candidates offer little hope for change for the nation. That's at least according to what a lot of Ghanaians say. Ghana used to be a poster child for democracy in Africa, but in recent years, it has struggled with a profound economic crisis, including surging inflation and a lack of jobs. Although 12 candidates are running to become Ghana's next president, today's election is actually between two people, John Mahama and Mahamudu Bawumia. The incumbent Nana Akufo-Addo is stepping down at the end of his 2 terms. So we'll wait to see, will it be John Mahama or will it be Mahamudu Bawumia leading Ghana? In the region here, at least 3,500 members of parliament and their staff from 8 East African community member states are believed to be in Mombasa, Kenya, to participate in the 14th edition of the EAC Inter-Parliamentary Games. These include about 1,200 MPs from Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, South Sudan, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The games began yesterday and will run until 18th of December, with 8 sports disciplines including football, netball, volleyball, basketball, darts, athletics, tug of war, and golf. Well, that's pretty much it. A lot has definitely happened, but we're just trying to look at, just to give you a summary of what the week looked like. David, just your quick thoughts. Of course, there was the issue of the Bank of Uganda, Besigye's case in court, Besigye and Haji Lutale. Just pick any and just give us your quick thoughts or comments.
Yeah, I am very, very interested in Bank of Uganda being our national reservoir. You know, I've been telling people that one of the effects of overstaying on power, having grip on power as a tyranny, those are the repercussions. For example, we see what is happening in Zimbabwe because of the impact that Robert Mugabe left in that country for overstaying on power, that today the people of Zimbabwe cannot even bank in their own country. You know that. They bank in South Africa, they bank in the neighboring countries. They cannot bank in their own country. Yeah, because of the inflation, because of what actually happened in Bank of Uganda, that sometimes I don't know whether they are ghosts. People steal money from your accounts. So it can actually lead us to an extremist, to the extreme that, for example, in Zimbabwe, I would still use the same example, that at one time you can find that there is an impasse. They are stuck. They don't even have toilet papers, so that someone in Zimbabwe calls someone from Cape Verde or from
a neighboring
country that, while coming, bring us toilet papers. They're out of stock. That's the problem. And that's the problem with actually people who do not love their country but masquerade around, purport to be loving their country. Because right now, this country is ripe for transition. If General Museveni loved Ugandans, and if indeed he loved this country, he would have stepped down and caused a transition in this country. Yeah, that's why now because they are going to root this country. I think it is Madiba Mandela that say that when government officials are rooting your country, then he advised people to rise, go on the streets, throw them out of the country. We cannot negotiate. This is like negotiating with terrorists. You know, people take it for granted and think some people go to the extreme, but really the situation is worsening. So what happened in the Bank of Uganda, should be regretted. It is regrettable to the government officials, and we need to mitigate.
But when you say people should actually rise up and go to the streets and agitate for, maybe changing course and so on, at what price? What I mean, how do you, because we've seen in the past, for instance, I just want us to go back a little bit to 2020 November. Yeah. And well, that was a political season. It was a campaign season. We understand what was going on. But when you say people should just take to the streets and go and, protest or reclaim what belongs to them, we see sometimes these protests actually turn into a lot of chaos. Innocent civilians become victims. Shops get looted. People lose out. The people who are actually not responsible for the mess that the country finds itself in. Do you see a situation where Ugandans can protest without necessarily putting others at a disadvantage, without necessarily disrupting or harming other citizens or even foreigners who are in this country?
For example, I want to tell you that none violent means have been tested in many countries, and they have produced results. However, some of those things you are talking about, they are necessary evils. For example, I have seen where non-violence means have given results to people. But lucky enough, now we are in 2020. I would say we are in 2025. Actually, 2025 is gone. But for us, we know that in all countries where civil disobedience and non-violence has caused change, has produced results, tyrannies are unsought, either before elections, within elections, or after elections. So while you are talking about the precedent that was set in 2019, 2020, mostly the November 17th and 18th, where, of course, it was a massacre of people in this country. We know that maybe there were a lot of mistakes. But if people are on course, it is very possible that we can actually change governance without a lot of without recording a lot of victims of circumstances in that case. Yes.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts. Professor Ogenga Latigo just walked in right now. Professor, good morning.
Good morning to you, madam.
I'm happy to see you again. I know you're going to take me to class again today. Every time I have you, I enjoy drinking from your cup of wisdom. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much, and good morning, listeners of KFM. I got...
My colleague Ben Jimbe came and told me he was going to hijack you for a few minutes for NTV, yes.
And when you are being hunted, you don't have a choice.
But I knew you were around, and he told me, I'm going to get him for some. I told him it's okay, just have him, and then when you're done, he'll make his way up here.
Otherwise, thank you, and it's my pleasure to be here.
Yes. Yeah. So we've actually just started. We've been talking about, of course, I was looking at the news highlights of the week. The Kizza Besigye and Hajj Lutale in court last week, and of course next week they are going. The case returns on Tuesday, and of course we also highlighted Matthias Mpuuga's unveiling his big announcement yesterday, which actually introduced us to the Democratic Alliance, is the latest political formation. And we are talking about, of course, all these recent political developments, whether it's the arrest of Besigye and Rutale, and also incidents prior to that, whether it's all these political parties fragmenting and polarizing further, and more new ones being formed and so on. And of course, we want to know what the road ahead looks like. The year is gone. We are looking at a campaign year. That's next year, 2025. Everyone is pretty much running around to campaign for, to either get back to parliament or become president in 2026. So a lot of things. It's a busy season. I don't know if you want me to I just wanted your quick thoughts to some of the issues that actually were prominent last week, including the response from the Bank of Uganda about the hacking incident.
Thank you very much. Maybe since I was not tuned in, I would want to know the colleague I'm with in the studio.
Oh, yes, sorry. This is David Musiri. He's the head of institutions at the National Unity Platform. Yes.
Okay, David.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Professor.
Thank you. Yeah, I was interviewed on NBS television on Thursday in regard to Mpuuga's big announcement. And my first reaction was, we have a situation where Dr. Besigye is abducted from Kenya, alleged to have possessed weapons in Kenya, brought to Uganda informally, arraigned before the military court-martial and charged. And then shortly after, something is posted about him talking to some Mzungu about drones. I've had to bring down a helicopter or what. And then that Thursday, Frontline headline of KFM, Supreme Court Justice Kizza Besigye tells Ugandans why she had to run into exile. That same day in the newspapers, lawyers acting on behalf of DPP Justice Jane Francis Abodo were in court accusing
ULS president,
yes, of abuse of the DPP, and also the late is it Mujeni or magistrate of Buganda Road Courts reportedly had died.
Yes.
Now, even just an ordinary human being, if you have intelligence, you recognize that whatever you wanted to do, the timing is not appropriate. And any seriousness and intellect would have told them to postpone that event. And so when you ask me about the launch and the great, what did you call it?
The big announcements.
You know what was interesting is they sent some card. And I was an editor of international journals for many years, so I picked things very quickly. And they talk about, like the tectonic plates.
Yes. Shifting.
Yeah. Now they talk about something. They use a very wrong word.
It's right here.
It's called. What did she do?
So let me see.
What? Pushing or something.
The last part?
Yeah.
Your presence at this transformative event will inspire and help shape a new Uganda. Is that the part you wanted?
No, the tectonic plate.
Okay, to a historic gathering that will surely drift the tectonic plates of Uganda's politics and leadership and build to redefine the cause of our nation.
And that was the key word. Papyrus Islands on River Nile, when they break, they drift. Drifting is random and without purpose. Tectonic plates are never drifted. They're shifted by tectonic forces. So when I saw that, and I just smiled and I said, oh my God, why do people put themselves to this kind of humiliation? Mpuuga made a huge mistake in taking illegal money from Parliament without close consultation and agreement with these party leaders. And then when he was caught and removed, he still allowed the Speaker to hold him as a commissioner, when he was commissioner by virtue of being leader of opposition, whose position he had already lost. And then he goes to Masaka and tries to incite the people of Masaka. I told people before, my late father-in-law, Gino Bonyo, was a DP member of Parliament, member of the first self-help government. Him, President, accompanied, and Bwambale from Kasese accompanied then Chief Minister Benedicto Kiwanuka, where they met President John Kennedy, and President John Kennedy gave the 200 scholarships that was used to train Ugandans to take cover from British colonialists at independence. Then Kiwanuka went to America with an Acholi and a Mkonjo. Mpuuga goes to his launch and ferries his village mates from Masaka. That is the fundamental difference between his launch, his party, and whatever he's doing, and what Uganda needs in political leaders of the country.
Interesting. Thank you. So, of course, it's not only the Mpuuga camp that is quite active. When we return from the break, of course, we'll also look at what's happening in the other political camps, including the ruling party, the PFF, and so on. This is VPN. We'll be back shortly. That's right. Welcome back. It is still VPN here on 933 KFM, 24 minutes to 10 o'clock. My name is Judith Atim, and I am joined in the studio by Professor Ogengala Tigo, seasoned politician. He's also a former leader of the opposition in Parliament. And I also have with me David Musiri, who is head of institutions at the National Unity Platform. Our other guests should be making their way here. When they arrive, we'll definitely let you know. But we are, of course, talking about the recent political developments and what the road ahead looks like, including, of course, yesterday's big announcement by the Mpuuga camp that unveiled to the country the Democratic Alliance. What does this mean? We're going to have a detailed conversation, and definitely my two guests here have so much to say. But also before that, let's take a look at also what happened at the People's Front for Freedom. Last week, they submitted signatures to the Electoral Commission. Of course, this is its second attempt in its quest to register as a political party. In the NRM camp, President Yoweri Museveni has been in Karamoja this week. Today, he will be in Kapchorwa on a wealth creation drive. He's been doing a lot of that for the last couple of months. And in the NUP camp, the NUP mobilization tours were halted by police on grounds that they were violating agreed plans, including traffic guidelines and breaching public gathering standards. And again, Dr. Kizza Besigye, like we said earlier, on Tuesday next week, he returns to the military court. His lawyers and family continue to protest his arrest and that of his colleague Haj Obeid Lutale's trial in a military court. Martha Karua, the senior lawyer from Kenya, is also yet to get her practicing certificate to lead his defense.
She actually returned back to Kenya.
Oh, yes. But she'll come back. I mean, it's still a process. So We are continuing with this conversation. Of course, we need to now zoom in into the Democratic Alliance joining the political fray. What will it turn around? Unfortunately, Michael Mabike, the Social Democratic Party president, who is also a close friend of Mpuuga, is supposed to join us. We're not sure if he will be here, but we needed to also get this perspective. We didn't want to have a one-sided conversation without having someone from Mpuuga's camp here. But the question is, what will it turn around? How far can they go? And what lies ahead for the political future of those joining his political formation? They've not yet registered it, but if they register, it will become a party. People like Abed Bwanika and so many others that he's called upon to join. So let's first stay on course on this topic of the Democratic Alliance and also NUP, because you've been the umbrella, you've been sheltering these politicians. Even now, Mpuuga is still in Parliament on the NUP ticket, right?
Yeah.
So, also, when you see these kinds of developments happening, what does this mean to you? It's not a surprise move anyway, even for just an observer. But within the NUP camp, what does this tell you regarding the people that you opened your doors to during the height of the political season in 2021, and what lessons have you learned, basically?
For me, first of all, I just wanted to respect the elders. For example, Professor here in studio. And I think, as the saying goes, that experience is the best teacher. I put on their shoes, and sometimes I think they have been maimed in any way or the other, disrespected, but even they are honest onto people. And I think, Professor, you have a big job for this country. And that's why we respect your elders, and we wish to learn from you. I want also to convey my respect to His Excellency Robert Sentamu Kyagulanyi. There is a saying he always says, that we shall always give them chance and watch them, see them by their actions. Yesterday I was almost offended. I am a NEC member in National Unity Platform. Even when we got those problems with, for example, service award that for us, we termed as corruption. And for us, some of us, the young people that had accorded respect to some of these elders, we were very, very offended. Because for me, I think even 500 millions would be like pocket change for a person of Matthias Mpuuga, you know. But unfortunate enough that it was done when his colleague, the commissioner by then, Honorable Zake from Mitiana municipality, was on suspension. Because these are on record. You know, the resolutions are there. But yesterday I was so much amused. Actually, when people say big announcement, for me I think it was a big announcement for Aryan Skin. Surely, it was a big announcement for Aryan Skin. That's why I actually wanted to know from the other side of the coin, if Michael Mabike was here in the studio. For example, it was shame to them that the young man bastardized the whole big announcement by his statement saying that he was just a small thief that used to drag phones, but now is rubbing shoulders with the big boys that can steal billions of taxpayers' money. For me, that was,
and that was the truth.
Yeah, you can imagine.
And I mean, it sounds funny, but if you are someone with a conscience and you actually care about the future of this country, then deep down, this should sadden you.
That's why most of the people actually are concerned. Even when, while we were commencing this very program, we talked about publicizing members of parliament in salaries, you know? We do not know, because most of them are corrupted. Actually, I have a chance that I have Professor Genga Latigo in studio. I am an aspiring member of parliament from Machindia West. But there are certain things I don't agree, even if it is parliamentary administration. For example, why would someone be given 200 millions for a vehicle that, first of all, it is going to be personal? You are not going to pass it over to the next member of parliament. For example, we have Aran Sewanyana in Machindia West, but and they don't even care whether you actually go and procure it or you don't. Then there is some money that I think it is around 60 millions for suits and the like. For me, I was wondering, for example, and comparing to our parents, the civil servants, those that are working in the army, the normal teachers. For example, if my parent, a teacher, wanted to get some little money, you go for a salary loan. Why wouldn't Parliament give, for example, these 200 millions as part of a salary loan? Because you are going to earn 40 million and above to some members of Parliament who come, for example, those of you who come from very far, For me, I would take it as...
I'm no longer in Parliament, but maybe that discussion we can reduce it because it will bring technicalities that I will need to have details. I don't
have the details now.
I don't like to speculate. And the times when we started it,
things were different.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. I totally understand. And I think let's just stay on course about this topic. So I've also just been corrected that President Museveni is not in Kapchorwa, like I said earlier. He's expected in Kasese for a Thanksgiving ceremony, where he will also commission the construction of the Chikorongo Mpondwe Butembo Road. There's a Thanksgiving event for Honorable General Wilson Mbadi and Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, the State Minister for ICT and National Guidance, and on their appointment for ministerial positions. So I'm told Dr. Tanga Odoi, our other guest, who is the Chairman Electoral Commission of the NRM, is on his way. I think he's making his way up here. So that leaves us with Michael Mabike. Hopefully he will also join in. So we are talking about, of course, what does, for example, like you said, the big announcement was for Alien Skin. That association of someone with quite a tainted character, he just got out of court on bail over, we know what was happening. And what does that do to your brand as a politician? What message are you sending to people that you actually, what kind of people do you even want to attract? Okay? And what purpose does Alien Skin serve? What does it serve? What purpose does it serve for the Democratic Alliance? And also, what is the value proposition, which is a question I actually would like to pose to Honorable Mambike as soon as he comes in here. But
there's a saying that fate is a terrible cynic. This running up and down of Mpuuga has nothing to do with national politics. It is about his self-guilt. An adult would always wake up and say, I made a mistake, own the mistake, and like Kenny Rogers says, get up and march on. And he thought he could use a front like launching, something like that, and fate hit him right on the face. That you are associating with people who cannot be a representation of what Ugandans aspire for this country. And they know who you are as one of those thieves. So he laid his bed, let him sleep on it.
But also, so what lessons? Again, I'm coming back to the lessons. I know you do. Does the party sit and actually realize that they made bad choices? I know you said your principal is His Excellency Chagulanyi says, let's give people a chance and judge them from their deeds. But now, what are the lessons? What are the benchmarks that the party is setting for itself come the next wave of elections, which is basically just here?
Yeah, before we even go there, on the big announcement still, you can see there was a lot of hate speech. Actually, in multi-party dispensation, for us, we cannot stop anyone, for example, to build their alliances. But the intention matters. Was it a good intention? You know, when we saw Michael Mabike, I think they are so desperate. They are very, very desperate. I think, for me, I would advise them, it is better you quit. You retire young, with respect.
Yeah.
It is very, very important. Because now even, you see, there is a saying that says that when a fool keeps quiet, someone may think they are reasonable. You know? People will not judge you. But whatever happened yesterday, I do not know whether they are praising themselves, Professor. Are they praising themselves that they achieved anything?
Professor wouldn't know what's happening.
Sure.
But I said they will wake up with nothing. And I said that on TV.
Yeah. And for us as a party, you know, we have lost a lot. Some of us actually would have been in the August House. We started with Bobby from the level of Firebase to Chadondo East. And I think the mistake they still have, these men, they still think that Bobby Wine is just a musician. I think that they are wrong about it.
Yeah.
And that's why they are they are putting, for example, Aryan Skin from nowhere, an amateur, you know. And he said, actually, for me, I think he abused them. He said, his rules, you know his rules? Respect the boss. And if rule 1 does not work, refer to rule 1. Meaning that
and the boss in this case is
Bobby Wine. He's the one who has made them. Some of these of Honorable Matthias Mpuuga, they would not have had a chance to be in Parliament.
Yes.
It is Bobby that gave him chance even to be leader of opposition.
Yes.
We will not go back to the history, but we know TDA. We remember they brought Amama Mbabas against Dr. Kizza Besigye. They betrayed him. It's not the first time they are betraying Ugandans. And I don't know whether they think that Ugandans are fools, that they don't see, they don't follow. But anyway, as a party, as National Unit Platform, we have learned a lot of lessons. However, we know that as a party, we cannot manufacture our own people. We can't. Because parties grow from harvesting from other parties. You know? But that's why I respect His Excellency Robert Sentamu Kyagulanyi by his saying he gives everyone a chance. Even the young man, Alien Skin, was given chance. He would not have been there. You know, I think the bad intention is of opportunists. They just jump on the wagon on anything. For example, maybe when they saw a few members around the court, I was part of the court for Aryan Skin. In the case of Matov. Matov he's a student of Makerere University. He used to lead in the Fees Must Follow. You remember, Professor? I was their leader. So he's the doctor that was beaten up. So I had to go there, stand in for him. So for me, we have, as a party, I think we are planning to, first of all, put a criteria and filter these people, because now we are not a young party. We welcomed wherever we wanted to welcome, they came. But we have had time. We have had time to develop. Some of us are already there. This time around, they will not say you don't have experience. After all, even those who are experienced, they are doing things of young people, you know. They are only shaming the profession. They are shaming the jobs that they are doing. Some of us, while we were young, you know, there is a time when you ask kids and they are like, I want to be a member of parliament. For me, by that time when Professor was leader of opposition, I think the best thing I would tell you, I want to go to Parliament. And when I get to Parliament, I want to be like Professor Ngenga Latigo. I don't think it is still the same narrative that you can ask, for example, pupils in primary or students in secondary, and they say, I want to be like Honorable Matthias Mpuuga as LOP. You know? That's why for me as an individual, as a friend, I am communicating to those of Michael Mavike. Instead of being misunderstood in many ways, please retire. Retire. No one is forcing you to be there.
Thank you, David. Let me take this opportunity to welcome my other guest, Dr. Tanga Odoi, NRM Electoral Commission Chairperson. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning. First of all, I'm happy to be late because I benefited from my being late.
You were listening in.
I was listening in to Professor and my young colleague from NUP, but I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. So
and this must be a really special day. We have not sat on any...
In a very long time.
On a broadcast? No.
Never. Oh, wow.
This is the first time.
Stephen, thank you very much for bringing this gentleman together for the very first time.
He's my brother from Toronto. I have no complaints to make.
He's my senior at academic level and a professor we admire.
Very, very. I'm happy to have you both, and I'm happy that I am having you, the two of you, for the very first time.
I may disagree with them today.
It's totally fine. That's why, I mean, we believe that society is not about everyone speaking the same language and agreeing with each other. Disagreements are healthy, provided they're constructive. Absolutely.
Actually, it would be my pleasure to say that it is a big day for me. So, rub shoulders with the professors.
Well, so you are rubbing shoulders with people with intellect.
People that have been following him from Makerere when we were on strike. We used to bring him to calm us down.
Yes. Doctor, we've had quite a conversation so far, but of course we are looking at the recent political developments and of course what the road ahead looks like. We've started with the Besigye case in court. We've looked at, of course, yesterday's big announcement from the Mpuuga camp about when they were unveiling the Democratic Alliance, and so many other things that are happening, not just within these parties, but also broadly speaking, even within the NRM. There's a lot that is happening. The by-elections in Kisoro recently was also quite a test for you people, like has been in so many other by-elections when it's still at the party primary level. So that, of course, their point is that even within the NRM, which seems to be united, there are fractions or factions within. When you come to the opposition, the observation out there from the citizens or civilian perspective is, okay, we actually don't have an opposition because the polarization, the fragmentation is just so evident. And to some people, this is actually a strong indicator, like it makes the ruling party actually strong. But some people still say, look, you cannot write off the opposition. It is still too early to actually say the opposition. Anything can happen between now and 2026. And those are some of the conversations I would like us to have. I don't know what your opening would be.
Well, first of all, thank you very much.
Because you've already been listening to what we were saying.
Thank you very much, listeners of KFM and viewers. And thank you very much, Professor Latigo, my senior academic leader, and my young colleague from the National Unity Platform. Our perspectives are perspectives in politics. Politics is about space, and space which should be exploited by whoever wants to exploit. I will start with the unfortunate one. I don't think incarceration of anybody is good, and I think the incarceration or the arrest of Besigye is not good. But since it is within the courts, I hope it will find its way out, because it's a matter of adducing evidence, and if he's found to be innocent or not guilty, I think he will be acquitted. Of course, Besigye is not a simple political figure that you'll just arrest like a chicken thief. You can't do that, and it will always have,
and shouldn't.
It should always have uproar. And I'm a Ugandan. with a bit liberal mind. I didn't like the behavior of our military at the court. The inside of the court was so civilized. The outside where you are beating people, chasing them, I think that was not necessary. Since he has already been brought in handcuff, there was no threat he was. I didn't like that one. And especially during this time. And I'm sure the president in his always will condemn them for doing that.
And even reprimand, I believe.
It was really not good.
No.
Besigye is a citizen like I am. No one is above the law. But let's follow up and do things rightly.
Thank you.
Number two is the issue of Mpuuga. I will not condemn him. Like I've had almost very difficult words being used by my friend from NUP. When political parties are coming up, emergent political states of the 1960s and emergent political parties, emergent political space and emergent political parties in Africa was always by younger people. If you come to Uganda at the nascent state of independence, you'll find 28 years Ibingira, 37 Obote, Mutesa, 30 to 41, 30, something of the kind. They were all young people, and we looked to them. Now, when we look to them, it does not mean we hold their ambition in one basket. They come together for a cause, but in politics, you use one springboard to get to the other level. So I think if Matthias Mpuuga, Honorable, came from DP into NUP, there was a problem in DP. They had disagreed. And of course, the cohort of DP made NUP. If you see the parliamentary majority of NUP in NUP at the current parliament, largely, and they got it. Now, the management of that cohort is what is the problem in NUP. The management of that cohort that came from DP. Because NUP itself has a team that founded it. Robert Chagolanyi, my former student, is one of them. To the extent that when people were saying he didn't have papers, I stood firm and said, let's not follow that line. He has papers. About how he went through it, that's another issue. But the papers we present, he has them. Now, if you see that political party with the foresight, they should just reorganize their house, accept that newcomers came, they had their own agenda. When they are exiting, I think I liked what Honorable Chagolanyi did, the president of the party. He said, no, he has his right. He can go. That is what we need. About whether he will succeed in his new formation, I don't want to say he cannot. He must be a calculative politician. He knows why he launched it in Masaka. Actually, Professor, you gave a very good narrative about your father-in-law and the DP founder, Benedicto Kiwanuka. That is the nationalistic character of foundation parties. You find Obote from the north was with the, of course, the alliance with the monarchists was just alliance of convenience, which later on brought problems.
But Musazi.
Yes, they were all nationalistic figures. It's just like what the President Museveni is doing, which people don't want to accept. He gets all of us from every part of the country, whether you have been shooting at him, and he says, so long as we can work on one mission, let's move on. You know, I've not had easy life ever since I stepped in the office of NRM Electoral Commission. First of all, because I'm from Tororo, I'm a Luo, and secondly, because I'm academic.
Yeah.
There are things academicians cannot
the framework is different.
The framework is different.
So what has your coming from Tororo got to do with?
No. There are people who did not want me in that office because I was not from their region.
He says he's a Luo.
I'm a Luo. Obote again has come.
I just wanted it for emphasis.
I want to say it myself. A general talked in my face and said, you know, I didn't lose election. You are declaring that you didn't even fight. I said, well, this election is for nationals and stakeholders of NRM. If you want election for generals, General Museveni will organize that. I answered him.
Okay.
I stand my ground. If you see the current, in fact, it's not just even turbulence. The current political underfeeling in NUP, in NRM, that is a sign. FDC, that's a sign of nascent democratic parties. How to manage them is the problem.
We're going for a break, but when we return, I want us to address the question, is Kizza Besigye, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, a threat in any way to NRM, to NUP, to any other party. After the break. Welcome back from the break. This is VPN 9 minutes past 10 o'clock. My name is Judith Atim, and I am joined by Professor Ogengala Tigo, seasoned politician, former leader of the opposition in Parliament, David Musiri, head of institutions at the National Unity Platform, and Dr. Tanga Odoi, electoral commission chairperson, national NRM, and I don't think Michael Mabike will actually make it here. So there is a concern. Before we went into the break, I liked what you actually was saying, Dr. Tanga Odoi. But there is a section of the public who believe that the recent developments around Dr. Kizza Besigye is a plan to actually resurrect the Besigye force and weaken the Bobi Wine ground. I don't know how true this is, but there is that sentiment that is growing. And the question is does Dr. Kizza Besigye present a formidable threat to NRM, to NUP or FDC?
Oh, the country.
To the country. That's also another interesting way to look at it. Because since his group is now in the process of actually registering their political party, the People's Front for Freedom, what does that mean? Now, when you look at also Mpuuga, there's also the thinking that, okay, perhaps he will be able to court all the other parties. When there was the issue of the 500 million shillings, a lot of MPs were hesitant to actually append their signatures to actually have him censured. So the thinking also is, okay, all these forces, these individuals, especially the senior members of parliament who never wanted to censure him, could also be swayed to actually join camp with, or to join his camp. I don't know what your readings will be about these two people, Mpuuga and what I've just mentioned, and Besigye. I don't know if I should.
Well, I think let me just finish up with what I was saying, and maybe I'll touch on that.
Okay.
I want to say this country is for now lucky to have President Museveni. And I'll say that without fear of any contradiction. He may have his weaknesses as a human being, but he has his strong point in trying to galvanize the people. The thesis he has for now is the thesis of the market. If you look at that thesis in a wider perspective, it even a semblance of how he wants to try to bring the country together. That I produce my milk in Mbarara, I cannot sell to Mbarara people or Kiruhura people because they also have milk. Who are my market? The Baganda in Kampala. He produces
and the rest of
Ugandans. He produces Sim in large quantity in northern Uganda. Who are the market?
Certainly
Eastern
not the north
and other parts of Uganda.
Elsewhere, yes.
If we follow that as a thesis, it is kind of economic way of uniting the country. Telling the country we need each other. You cannot produce in Buganda and say Buganda. If you are producing coffee, what about the other sides which are not producing coffee? What can they bring as a nation? So what we have inside our country is politicization of ethnicity and at times ethnic stereotyping. To the extent that when one person makes a mistake and is the letter O, you say those O's are bad. That is a ethnic stereotype, which is recipe for disaster. Of course, if you see the country now, no part of Uganda can on its own fight the other. You cannot say we are Buganda, we are going to take over Uganda. You can't. You need the other part of Uganda. You cannot say we are from Eastern Uganda, we are going to rise against whatever. This force that rise against the establishment. You cannot have that kind of rebellion.
It's not viable.
In Kenya, the colonial state, Kenya was a colonial state, a settler economy.
Yes.
Brought the people together because almost all Kenyans were poor people and were supposed to be laborers, apart from a bit of the Kikuyu. And you can see that unless you have alliance with the Kikuyu, you cannot easily lead the country. Even when they got a Kikuyu as a vice president, because the other Kikuyu was abusing was still a big person, a former president, he's out of it. So the politics in Kenya is ethnicity is completely on the board. With us here, I'm telling you, and I want to use my own example. I draft about chapter 3 of my book. I left because of being busy. Where you come to office, a person comes to face you. not that you are going to discuss, is coming to tell you how you are even not the right person to be in that office. Recently, we had an election in Kisoro, which you talked about. Candidates were neck to neck within the NRM camp. One was 39,917, I think. Another was 39,000 this. Now, look at the SWOT analysis of research, which I was telling them. Tanga must go. The candidate who was a flag bearer failed. If the candidate who was a flag bearer had, in the national election, got below 39,000 votes, then you question the primaries. My work is to get you a candidate through primaries. That is where my work ends. Once I hand over the candidate, mobilizers should do their work. And then if the candidate fails, you come back to a person who gave you the candidate and there was no complaint valid. I told them. Now, some people even took it. You saw a person called Kizza Besigye. We must get him out. One of the reasons I have been there so long, I'm not from anywhere, a useful country, part of the country. Can you imagine?
I don't now, want when to we believe, go to, I don't want to believe that there are other parts of this country which are more.
No, that's what a young man that he sends people to me, that the boy can talk to you, me Tango Doi, to talk to that boy. Let him collect all the signatures, 10,000 signatures, and I see where he will take it.
Dr. Odo, on that, the president has actually been quite consistent about the issue of the politics of identity. Okay?
Yes.
And I'm glad we're actually talking about
that's the politics of identity.
That theme,
dangerous.
Reflected in the ethnic, religious, or tribal undertones that actually tend to characterize.
We had it politics. In Kisoro.
But how do we move past
We
that?
have to have an honest conversation as political parties. All of us, irrespective of shade. This business of one political party saying we can't meet when Museveni is there. You need to meet and talk. How will you fail to dialogue? What is the opposite of lack of dialogue? It is war.
Let me hear from you, Professor.
The Besigye things and whatever I'll come to.
Yes.
Well, you know what Tanga is saying is something that I've repeated and said repeatedly, and in many fora on TV. I even when this issue of the parties now, I said it is pointless. You know, when we were forming FDC, for example, it was not out of grievance. It was out of looking for alternative.
An alternative.
And an alternative that, in our view, would be more attractive. That's why we ended up with the slogan, One Uganda, One People. But we had the same problem that Tanga had. Some of us, we came from DP, others came from UPC. When we were forming the party, Dr. Besigye was not here. We formed and took it to... we took it to Stellenbosch. Our first... The National Council was in South Africa, Stellenbosch. And we installed him from there as the party leader. But the 5 years I was leader of opposition, reform agenda people, my own brother Reagan, Nandala Mafabi, all those guys fought me. The only thing is that I'm short and strong.
With a good sense of gravity.
So I worked on all of them.
Dealt with them.
But I kept telling them this is stupid. Because it's not about me, it's not about Besigye, it's about the country.
Yeah.
It's not even about FDC. And so and my persistent call, and one time I did a strong interview and I said, Mr. President.
Yes, you said.
Call a general national dialogue.
I know it.
And I said, if you don't want to be part of it,
get a representative.
Yes. And I said, if in that dialogue we agreed that I should be responsible for sweeping the main street of Kampala, I would gladly do it. Because that would be my national duty. And so I agree with Tanga. We have reached where we cannot raise this anger, pain, dissatisfaction, hatred of one another, denial of reality, any eye. Let's sit down. We don't have any other country It is only this one. Let's sit down, we talk. You see what happened when the young ones don't know. When UNLF defeated Amin and Yusuf Lule came back, all the meat people cut the price of meat, everything.
I have, everywhere. I was in S2.
Why? Why was that?
The joy of being free.
Ah, okay.
And Ugandans are such good people. The only problem is that bad people take advantage of their goodness.
Yes.
Then they occupy positions for selfish reasons, and even without a clue as to what can be and must be for this country. For me now, that is the challenge I face.
Thank you, Professor. David, let me come to you. Still on this issue of politics of identity, I don't know if you also hear the kind of sentiments from other people, even online. People say, but NUP is a party that is concentrated in Buganda. But you are a political party that ideally you should have that representation of. Even your structures and everything should have that, should reflect the national character. I don't know if these are also some difficult conversations that you're having within as a party, especially quite a young party.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to clear the air. You see, Dr. Tang, I think, misunderstood my submission. But let me reassert myself very, very well. We said that in a multi-party dispensation, there is freedom. No one is curtailing anyone to start an alliance. But our problem is the intention. It is, of course, it is self-explanatory when Tang says maybe we are against them, because actually what they did, I think it is in their favor, because I think if you were following Doctor, you saw the hate speech. When, for example, Honorable Member of Parliament of Chimanya Kabonera talks about homosexuality, but is actually talking about people who have their families. I don't know whether Tangodo, you know the wife of Dr. Abed Bwanika, but I am quite sure that you know that your former student,
yes,
Robert Sentam Chagulanyi,
is a married man.
He's a married man.
I know that.
And you know his wife.
I know.
You know the wife
from Ntunga
of the current law. Okay? All of us, even me, of recent, I proposed.
You now have a wife.
Yes. Let's talk about that. You know, things cannot be amorphous. You know, these are colleagues that we respect. They are seniors like you, like Professor here. So we expect much from them. If they cannot produce to their level, then it is a disservice, not only to us, the young people, but to the nation. How can we have a conversation if we are in a dilemma where we are? So that is what I was meaning, that really, for us, we have no offense against them. We don't. But the timing, I think it was wrong timing. It might be my thinking. I might be wrong. Yes. I concur with senior colleagues that this country we need to have a conversation. But what I don't agree is when General Museveni is in the lead. I know I said that the experience is the best teacher. I am a Bible scholar, and I just want to take you to the precedence of Saul in Israel, in the Bible. When he had the greed of power, it is actually a disease. To the extent that he needed David to come and play his guitar for him to survive for a moment.
Can you be clear? Who has greed for power?
General Museveni. I want to reassert it very, very properly, because for me that's why I'm worried. If we have the Tango Doys, the Dr. Tango Doy, And today they think that the visionary person is still General Museveni. I think we are worried. I think this country is heading for a time bomb. Because, for example, today I know that you are very experienced. Actually, General Museveni could step down and we have a temporary committee that can initiate a transition headed by Tango Doi or Professor
David.
Gengaratigo, because it is possible.
David, I want us to come back to the question that I posed earlier about Mpuuga and Dr. Kizza Besigye. Do they, let's say in particular, does Besigye pose a threat to NUP, to NRM, to, by the way, Professor, where do you belong? Where do you belong?
I used to belong.
Not anymore.
Independent.
Okay. You will give me your independent thoughts. Yes. Just move closer to the microphone, please.
Let me tell you, I operate in fixed times. I was in Makerere for 10 years. There's nothing that I should have done
that you couldn't have done.
That remained.
Within those 10 years. You went to FDC.
Yes, 10 years. Nothing that I should have done that remained is not there. That's how I live.
So now, where's your playing field now?
Now I am an elder statesman.
That's a nationalist.
Okay.
But the only thing that is almost forcing me back to politics is the stupidity of politics in Acholi. And the kind of leadership that dwell on lies to incite people instead of directing them when poverty and ignorance is sinking. I am so angry about that I'm about to declare that I'm going back to politics.
Okay. So now the question to the two of you.
I think he is going to have time, but I think when we have debates here, let's not debate the absent. If you want the NRM transitional period, that is within the constitution of NRM. If you want transition as a word, define it from your dictionary in the phone. Transition as a word. When you have 5-year electoral period, there are transitions. It is up to NRM to get tired of their own man. For as long as they are not tired of him, President Museveni you're talking about, I don't see any problem with them. If NRM feels they are tired of the President Museveni, and the voters feel they are tired of him, they'll get rid of him.
Well, but could they also be tired but afraid to actually speak up and say, we are tired of you?
That's another conversation. That's another conversation. And that conversation can only be had within NRM. Because to do something is what he didn't want, speculative. To actually come and talk about NRM, yet the constitution is there, and we are doing our best, and you think it is only Museveni who should get out, and the whole country is okay. The other will say, but with us, we feel Museveni should be there. You know, when you have a discussion, what I said, we need a dialogue.
Yes.
And that conversation should not be that this one went to Museveni, he has been bribed. No. Let's have a dialogue.
Yes. And the outcome will help us, to move forward.
Now, you want Museveni out. You don't want to dialogue. How will you get him out? NRM is saying, and I'm the chair of the commission, that they are comfortable with Museveni. What will you do?
Okay, Besigye and Mpuuga. Let's get back to that. I think you've responded to each other.
That conversation needs another.
We need another 2 hours.
Yes.
To talk about that.
KFM is still
So, David,
agree.
Does KB present a threat to NUP? And if so, how? And also, Mpuuga, when you see, the commission, the members of parliament who actually did not sign to censure him, the thinking is he could actually use that to actually strengthen his own supporter political base. Is that something that NUP is also looking into?
No, that signing was not about Mpuuga. It was about the speaker.
And the commissioners?
No, it was about the speaker. They did not want Mpuuga censored because it will open the Pandora's box.
David, that's your view. That's your perspective, and that's an interesting one. But I'll still want to hear from these two gentlemen.
Yes. I think Professor has done us well. And I want to start from his words. When he said, while he was at Makerere, he did it for that period of 10 years. And there is nothing he would add. When he was in Parliament, he did it with all his heart for 10 years.
But he added, now he sees the problem naturally.
That's another discussion.
Well. Yeah.
That's another discussion. But for me, I believe Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye did his purpose, and he did it well. Some of us, we are his part.
He did his part.
He did his part. And we appreciate him. And I want to let you know, and the viewers and the listeners, that some of us, we are his projects. We are his products.
He inspired you.
Yes. Of course, there are certain things I think Professor knows that some of us were trained by Sam Mugumya and like in terms of activism. But I can tell you, he did his part well. And he's not a threat. He's not.
So if he strengthened his PFF party, you don't actually see PFF under Besigye actually making any sweeping gains, whether it's here or in other parts of the country?
Actually, for us, we believe the reason why it is very, the prudence of multi-party dispensation is about, one, political ideology. I want so much to talk about political ideology because of Thomas Sankara from Burkina Faso, when he said that a soldier without a political training is a potential thug.
Danger.
It's very, very dangerous. So we can agree and disagree, but on principle. Because for us, we need someone to come with a different ideology. If that is a good ideology, then why don't we give him chance? And that does not mean that he's a threat. Some of us, as we are saying, we are students or professor here. If he's coming back to politics, then we should benchmark. Because in Islam, there are people, they call it hadith. For example, in the NRM, Dr. Tang, they can get an hadith from him. He speaks with confidence, with experience. Then we would want to have such people around. And for the case of Honorable Matthias Mpuuga, it's not a threat. He's not. He's not. For us, actually, we expected much from him. It is only a disappointment that, because we don't want to see him trying to juggle things and things are not getting there. For example, how do you bring a guy who is going to actually abuse you on your own big day, pronouncing that I have been a small thief of phones, but now I'm rubbing shoulders with people who steal billions of money. You know, this is a statement he did. I don't know whether Tango Doi saw that, and I know you are conversant with Luganda very well. You are not like my sister. Do you think that is a service? That is a disservice. For us, that's why we are not complaining about parties coming up. They should come. Maybe we can ably have that conversation senior colleagues are talking about here. Because we cannot all think alike. That's why I disagree when people say it is only one person who has that vision that can take this country forth.
Yes.
Just coming on that issue, I think under the leadership of Right Honorable Richard Todwong, he has done what I have always loved, to set up a think tank. He's still beefing up his think tank, but he has set up what we call a think tank at the Secretariat. Something which I wanted since I left Makerere for the Secretariat. We analyze every underpinning that comes in politics.
Yes.
And he's himself a very, very, very thorough person in political science. So we analyzed everything, and we are happy that the development of democracy should be that opening of space for anyone who says, I'm not comfortable here, let me move here. But now to nickname those people that Mpuuga is not a threat to us, we don't do that. We don't do that. We simply go back, use the academia we are and say, why did he come? Who is he trying to appeal to?
What is it about?
What is it about? Who may actually... It is a wave. NUP came as a wave.
Yeah.
And where NUP took us as NRM, we did not have time. I can tell you that openly.
Yeah.
I said it to Todwong, I said it to Lumumba.
If COVID was not there,
I said it to and I said it to Lumumba. That these young boys, I went to Kisoko Deep Village and I found people with the t-shirts of Bobby Wine. I said, these young boys are going to damage us.
you know,
Let's quickly plan.
one day,
COVID controlled them a little bit, slowed them down.
One Sunday I go to church.
Yes.
And who is reading, doing the first reading? Centum in color.
Yes.
Now, if you see NUP now, NUP is not a wave. It cannot take everyone the way it took. Because times have tested them. They have tested their internal handling. They cannot handle their own. They are calling others names. Yet initially they were saying NRM was calling us names. They were saying the ghetto, you are stupid. They actually plowed. The young people who can stand in rain in a line to vote were there. Yet the bureaucrat, the elite will not go. They will pick a plane and go away. Now, NUP benefited of that. What is Mpuuga doing? That confession of a thief was not accidental. And don't dismiss it. That I used to steal phones, I'm now rubbing shoulders with big people. They are a section of alien skin supporters who will blind themselves to your admission of a thief of a phone.
Because they identify.
They say that musician is ours. That's how Bobby Wine was. Oh, Bobby Wine with music. They ran to Toronto to see Bobby Wine, not because of anything. Our musician has come. That is how a wave operates. A wave operates and it has a time limit. We call it a sur in Toronto. It weaves when it is dry season and it goes. It can take too many of you and leave you where it lives. It takes roofs. That is how NUP came. NUP now, with an established headquarters in Kavule, is not a wave of the other type. It cannot even talk to all the ghetto because we have also planted ourselves among the ghetto. We have realized this ghetto in Kampala
is a power base.
As a power base. And we are just leaving a power base.
Now you're here.
To the other. Now, that is what we call think tank admissive politics. You go, analyze a wave. We are going to analyze Mpuuga.
How are you going to counter?
We are going to analyze Mpuuga from the line of the Catholic Church, from the line of Mengo, for the line of these other people you say a thief, and other 6 others I'll not tell you here.
And now, also have a strategy of reaching the thieves.
Now, when we go into him in Masaka, Masaka was taken by NUP. Why don't we divide Masaka? What's wrong with us taking back even 4 constituencies? And then NUP takes 1 and the other one takes maybe 2. That is what politics is about. So politics is not about throwing out.
So, Doctor, do you think it was actually a right move for him to actually bring
it may not have been the timing. I had professors talking about the timing. But you know, people differ. Professor was right. That if you see what's happening, maybe would have held. But maybe he says this is the right time to hold some people. And let me tell you, Buganda, which has about 11 million people as a population, large population census, is now going to be the focus. Now, if Masaka has NUP, Masaka has Mpuuga, NRM, which was in Masaka for long, is also back there. FDC, which cannot be in Masaka, will run to the east. FDC Najayanku. PFF is coming. We don't know who the leader of PFF will be. If it is going to be Besigye, we know what to deal with him. Musaja Agenda. This time Masaka people go to see him. We shall say he has always said it, but the man has never gone, and among other things. So what we want to do as secretariat is not...
The quarter pin can't be...
The quarter pin cannot be... Now, what we don't want is NRM supporters must leave us do our work. There is a reason for why President Museveni assembled us. But then you find a person coming from some... They must go. We have what we are doing. Because we can't disrespect NUP. We can't disrespect FDC. We can't disrespect DP. We can't disrespect even what?
So, Doctor,
even Mpuuga.
There's actually a reminder here for me that someone is taking me back. Actually, it's my producer, Steve. That if we go back to 2015, we saw how Amama Mbabazi came in with that wave and also a lot of
TDA.
but yes, under TDA. But a day later, Besigye, people were like, oh, Mbabazi must be the man of the moment. Like, he's going to take the votes. Basing on the numbers that actually were moving on Ginger Road here. Then a day or so later, Besigye comes in and someone gave him a whole sofa. They carried him. Like, it was just, like, it was so colorful. I was in the newsroom here and we were following that. It was very, very interesting times we lived in. Of course, the thinking was, because of his proximity to power, Mbabazi was, the next person who would actually, he had the power, he had the sway.
But he has never been a politician. Yeah, that is the truth.
I can tell you, the first thing that I respect Right Honorable Mbabazi for, and I've respected him, he came out and said, I will not leave NRM, but I've differed with him on some of this.
Yeah.
That statement alone was, to me, a very calculative statement.
Thank you.
And when he says he was not a politician, he is actually largely a very good organizer at some other level.
Yes.
Very good.
Stephen is telling me it's time for us to take a break. It's 20 minutes to 11. We'll go for a break and then we'll be back and continue with this. Welcome back from the break. It's 15 minutes to 11. We are opening our phone lines and you can give us a call, send a question or a comment. Just give us your thoughts about what we're talking about. We're discussing, of course, all these recent political developments that we're seeing and what the road ahead looks like for our country. This is VPN. But as we wait for a call, I think, David, we could give you the mic to respond. Stephen, do we have a caller? Hello? Not yet. David, you could respond as we wait for the caller.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's okay. No. We just your thoughts. I mean,
no,
what
I think there was conspiracy theory is what we're dealing with.
Yes. I'm told we have a caller. We have a caller now? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you too.
May I know who I'm talking to?
You're talking to Jackson from Lusanja.
Who?
Jackson.
Stephen from Lusanja. Justin, okay. Yes, Justin, please proceed.
I want to...
Oh. Hello? Hello? Yes, please.
Yes, good morning, please.
Good morning. May I know who I'm talking to?
This is Mukwasi.
Who?
Mukwasi. This is Mukwasi.
Okay, Mukwasi, please proceed.
NRM is playing. Mpuuga is a player of NRM. You cannot tell me you form a political party just like that. After stealing 500 million. We know the party is playing. They want to fight in massacre because popular in won in massacre. So they want to fight such that NRM can come and win. And fight away me talking, I am NRM supporter. But I know my party very well.
You know your party very well. Okay. Hello?
Yes.
Thank you, Mukwasi.
This is Jonathan.
Yes, Jonathan.
Yes, I want also to comment on, especially on the issue of the service award.
Yes.
Yeah, the guys, I respect the guys in the studio, especially the professor, the two professors. But for the North side, if I may ask him, do they think fighting in Mpuuga? Oh, I mean, let me put it like this: if they want to, in their case, do they want to fix Mpuuga to stop corruption in Parliament, or to fix Parliament as an institution? Because actually, that guy, he was trying to go a point, and I think he was not whatever advised by. But when you look at the whole point, the service award. It's not involve only Mpuuga. There is a former VIP who was a speaker at some point and a vice speaker, and they got rewarded for being speaker and being vice speaker. If you get it. At the same time, they are still in government because one was a vice president who is still benefit best part for being a vice president, a former vice president for that case, and the other case. So in actual sense, I think we will privilege the whole thing. If we are saying we want to fix excesses, because we all agree that there are excesses at Parliament.
Okay.
Thank you. I think we've got your point.
Yes.
Is NUP trying to fix? Yes. Good morning.
Yeah, the good team in the studio.
May I know who I'm talking to, please?
This is Norbert speaking. Just even I'm looking at you there.
Thank you, Norbert. Yes.
Now, the issue of corruption, if they talk of Mpuuga, the previous caller is saying it's not actually, he's saying it's not corruption because there are other people who are involved in this. Why Mpuuga? It's what he's trying to ask. But the fact is, it's now NUP who has identified the loophole. But others are okay with the corruption. If they're okay with the corruption, why will the NUP be concerned with the other parties who are not concerned to NUP? It's NUP getting concerned to their candidate. So it should not be that Mpuuga is right, maybe NUP is wrong, but it's supposed to be the camp for those other those other who were awarded to get concerned, not NUP. Now, coming to the issue of Mpuuga getting a new political party, we don't look at it. It's his right. He's right to do it, but the fact remains, this Alan Skin statement with the Mpuuga Act, I think they are the same people.
Okay, thank you. One more caller? Okay. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you to you all.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, you are live at the roundabout.
Yes, Juma.
Thank you,
and you're going to be our last caller.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Allow my high five to all the generals in the studio with you.
Yes, I've given them high fives already.
I've been watching them for so many decades via television, and I give respect to them. But my question is, you have seen the caliber of Besigye being abducted in a foreign land, and you know very well Besigye has been a very good and loyal servant of this nation, Uganda. The very uniform whereby he won it one time ago, the very uniform who went and paraded him back to Luzira. Now, Mpuuga, is it the right time for you? Now, since the mega mic had been captured, number of lawyers from, let me say, African Union, they are coming following that. And even those lawyers, in fact, even me, if I had the power, I would have chased all those lawyers who are coming from other countries. It is the Museveni to decide. He knows Museveni Besigye in and out. Why is he giving those go-ahead to punishing this big figure in Uganda, in a political arena? If there is not a repo, why they are alleging that he was got with 2 pistols now? Besigye was not going to handle even pistols, even tankers. He handled those who were having.
Juma, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, quite a lot. Some are questions, some are just general comments and so on. You want to respond?
Yes. Let me respond on the service award.
Clarity.
Because there was nothing that was resolved in Parliament for parliamentary commissioners to get service awards. Secondly, we have a law in Parliament that provides for pensions for leader of government business, deputy speaker, and the speaker. That law was enacted when I was leader of opposition. And I had asked, because of the nature of the bicameral parliament, I had asked at that time, but I didn't want to push because it would look personal. I had asked my people, but I can tell you that the same people who have now destroyed FDC, thought it was about Latigo. And I said, you guys, I'm the best placed person to extract this from government. Once it is put in law, you will all be beneficiaries. More than 1.5 years ago, I wrote to the Speaker of Parliament after those former speakers.
Yes,
actually, it was even before that. And I said, Madam Speaker, it looks lopsided that those who serve in the office of leader of opposition are not recognized for their services. And I suggested formulate and let Parliament pass a gratuity that leaders of opposition will get in proportion to how long they stay in the office for all the tenures, so that there is equity. It's not about self. I copied that letter and I wrote personally to Mpuuga. He never responded. If he had followed it up, there would have been a framework.
I'm told we have 3 minutes to actually go.
There would have been a framework where if he was exiting, he would have a legitimate service award. What transpired was an illegality. And Mpuuga is a lawyer. When you do those things, you are a criminal.
I think, thank you very much, callers. There's not much to add. Well, the issue of Besigye will be settled because the courts are handling, and he has a team of credible lawyers among the 50. Then the other thing where you are talking about the issue of Mpuuga, me as NRM, we don't have a hand in his creation. At least I would have known, and I speak my heart and mind. If he has come and it is to advantage of NRM, so be it. If it will crack the massacre and NRM wins bits of seats, so be it. Politics is about taking over space, which is available. And I really pity Noop, because your house, by 2025, I think it will be having roadmaps. Different roadmaps from what we have. What we are doing now as NRM is try to streamline our roadmap, and especially primaries, which scatters us a lot. And if the NRM people can admit that when we have the next register, there's a loser and a winner in the politics, so be it. But about Noop and their whatever, I think Mpuuga is okay. Let Mpuuga also try. You tried with your leader. He had never had even LOC1 position, but as a leader of a political party. And let me tell you, there's this other issue, Professor, you know it, that government now has said political parties will get some funding. Political parties are getting funding from the consolidated fund. The political party which has members will definitely get those funds.
It is in proportion to what
you have. So if Mpuuga can get 4 MPs, that will be a base for him to form his political party.
Thank you. David.
You know, Dr. Tang sounds like the saying that a monkey cannot judge the case of a forest. I think on this panel he has been so much campaigning and sanitizing, massaging.
That is his job.
That is his job. It's like, I am not complaining. I am only appreciating him for the job well done for Mpuuga on this panel. Muku has made my day when he said he's NRM, but he knows what Tango Do is doing for Mpuuga.
I will go to check the register. I wish he had told me which village. I have the register to find out if he's a member of NRM.
Anyway, we also want to clear the air, and I think Professor hinted on it. There are a lot of misconceptions about the Uganda narrative, about the massacre narrative. I am telling you, the moment you see His Excellency Kyagulanyi in massacre, all of you, Dr. Tang and his Mpuuga, they will be quiet. And it is a test of time. It is a test of time. It is just a test of time. I am telling you, we are all alive.
Goes there, you'll see the fight.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just want to say thank you very much. I think we've actually come to the end. I wish we had like another hour, but time is really not our life. It's just picking up. The discussion is just picking up. But we don't have.
I've loved it.
I sincerely appreciate you all, gentlemen. Professor Gengala Tigo, Dr. Tango Ndoye, and you, David Musiri. Thank you very much for your time.